Thank you, snowboarding.
Thank you, snowboarding.
Snowboarding.
Snowboarding, grazie, grazie.
Hey friends, how you doing? My name is Chris Cracknell. You are listening to Thank You Snowboarding, a podcast that is about UK snowboarding, its history and its culture. From the boys and girls hand building, let's be honest, it was probably boys, hand building boards up in Scotland and around the country in the 80s, to the current crop of shredders and people who push our culture forward every day. We do this with the kind support of the Snowboard Asylum. They've been looking after snowboarding in the UK since the beginning, and they continue to look after this podcast, and we thank them very, very much. Go check them out if you need any snowboard kit or you need any advice. So this week's guest is Izzie Jones. If you don't know who Izzie Jones is, then maybe you could pick up a copy of the Reason magazine, where she's written an article all about women who are riding snow domes. She runs a snowboard social called Snow Cone, which I think is really important as people's lives get a bit more fragmented. Creating a space where people can meet up with fellow snowboarders and go riding all in a safe environment, I think is really, really important. And I wanted to know kind of what led her to think of such a thing and to then implement it. You can find out more about her after the podcast by checking out the Reason magazine, which could be on your Christmas gift list if you so desire. But yeah, this is a very short song to do an intro to, so we'll get straight to it with Izzie, and I'll be back at the end to tell you about early season conditions out in the Alps. But here we go, Izzie Jones, Snow Cone. Yeah, sadly, West Beach didn't survive, or it's kind of being brought back. The guy that invented it in the first place has got like all the intellectual property to it again.
Oh, really?
So I don't know if it's going to make a comeback. I think it will. I think there's talk of it, but it will be very much back to Vancouver and Canadian based, I think.
It was very cool for a while. I worked at Chill Factor as an instructor, and at one point we got West Beach uniform, and everyone was so buzzing. We were like, "This is sick!" But yeah, then it had a bit of a death, didn't it?
Sadly, it did die a bit of a death. I saw its demise. I've seen many brands' demise. It seems, yeah. There's not many left, is there?
No, there isn't.
So I was listening this morning. I went for a walk and I was listening to the Bomb Hole podcast. I don't know if you know about that.
Which one?
It's called the Bomb Hole.
Oh, I know the Bomb Hole very well. I didn't know.
And I was listening to the latest ones with Troy Eckert, who started Volcom.
Okay, I've not listened to that.
Or he was like one of the guys that started Volcom. And I was just wondering, knowing that I was going to talk to you, I was wondering about how much, because what year did you come into snowboarding?
Oh my goodness. Like, what year did I start snowboarding and what year was I like part of the scene? Like,
well, what year did you start? And then, sort of what year did you become kind of aware of all the various people and sort of scene of it?
Yeah, so my like journey into snowboarding. So I guess the first time I was ever on a snowboard, I was 10 at Sheffield Dry Slope.
No way, you were at Sheffield.
But just like a one-off, and I don't remember much about it. And like, I'm not from a family that skis, like we're not a skiing family.
No.
It was just like a day out, a family day out. Yeah. And I just absolutely loved it. We just did heel edge. That's all we did for this like hour session. And I was just obsessed with it from sort of then on. So I didn't snowboard again for probably 5 years. But between 10 and 15, it was on like a snowboard was like top of my Christmas list and top of my birthday list every year. It was so weird. But then I think I annoyed my mum so much by asking for lessons. Maybe I don't know, that she eventually caved and got me lessons at Tamworth Snowdome, which is not close. So it was like 2.5 hour drive.
Yeah.
But so I learned to ride when I was like 14 or 15 at Tamworth. But still, I just snowboarded on my own, really. Yeah. And I had sort of a couple of friends when I was sort of 16, 17 who also snowboarded. So we'd occasionally go to like Castleford because Chilford didn't exist then. No. So even then I wasn't sort of part of the scene, and I didn't go on a mountain until I was 16 when so my aunt and uncle ski and snowboard and they've loved it forever. Like they live out in the Spanish Pyrenees.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's cool.
That's useful.
Yes, isn't it? And they I think they really loved that there was finally somebody else in the family who had an interest in snow sports. So I've got 3 older siblings.
Right.
It was Christmas when I was 16, and for Christmas as a present they flew me out to the Pyrenees.
No way.
Whereas like my brother and sisters were like opening sweatshirts, and I got a snowboarding holiday. So that was the first time I went on a mountain.
Yeah. Tell me about that experience, because I can vividly remember the first time I saw mountains.
Yeah, it was insane. So it was a little resort called Les Anglais. I don't know. I remember thinking it looked like Los Angeles, like on the spelling, but obviously it's not. You're in the Spanish Pyrenees. But had we gone over the border? I actually don't even know where it is. But it was unbelievable. Like I absolutely loved it. And it wasn't very good. Like I'd only really just learned to link my turns at Tamworth. And I recently asked my aunt about it, and she dug out, so they're writers, my aunt and uncle. They used to sort of write travel books. But she found my uncle's old journal from that time, and we found the date and time, and he'd just written a little note, and it said, although she has not done it many times before, she is brilliant, which I thought was really cute. And then, but he'd written that I wasn't quite linking my turns. And I remember I was like donut spinning. Like I would keep turning rather than like doing the S shape. I would keep, and I remember him saying to me, why don't you try going the other way? And I was like, oh no, I like going this way.
Do you know what? That's exactly the same as when I sort of, did I teach my wife or just trying to show her the way, and she could heel edge, and I'd be like, right, come on, you got to turn onto your toes. And she was like, well, can't I just, because she can kind of ride backwards and forwards as well as each other. So she was like, well, I can just go over there on my heels and then come back on my heels.
Yeah, exactly.
And she was like, can't I just do that? And I was like, well, you're sort of missing the point if you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, but I loved it. It was just amazing.
So what year would this have been?
Oh my goodness. 2005 maybe?
Okay.
I think so. I'm 36.
Okay.
I was 16. So yeah, I think it was about 2005. But then I just had the bug for it. Like I just wanted to snowboard.
Yeah.
But obviously I grew up in the Peak District.
Right.
So actually when it snowed, we've got hills around, but it's
was there much, have you had any winters with much snow up there?
There's one that stands out when I was sort of I had my own snowboard, so I must have been a little bit older. I was maybe like 18, and it snowed so much that me and my sister grabbed our boards, and my dad has like an old Series 1 Land Rover.
Oh yeah.
And it was the only thing that we could get through the snow. Yeah. And he would drive us to the top of the Goit Valley. Yeah. And we'd snowboard down, and then he'd pick us up at the bottom.
No way.
With glasses of tea and drive us back to the top.
Amazing.
Like that was insane, but that does not happen very much.
No, that sounds like a golden opportunity. You just mentioned there about you had your own snowboard. So tell me about getting your own snowboard, because that's kind of a magical moment in itself, isn't it?
Well, it is for somebody who had it at the top of their Christmas list for 10 years and never got one.
I know, that's kind of really sad in a way as well, isn't it?
I love it, isn't it? No, it's cool. So I used to just use the rentals at Castleford, and we didn't go very often, but when we did go. But then when I was 18, after I finished sixth form, I went to Canada for a winter.
Oh, right.
So I hadn't done much snowboarding at all. I'd been on a mountain once and I linked my turns, and I obviously thought I was dead good. Yeah. But I went and did one of those instructor courses, where you go and you kind of get your accommodation and your food.
Yeah.
You go for 3 months. So I did that. And as part of that, when I got out there, I bought my first board.
What did you get?
A K2, but I can't remember what it was. But I was absolutely in love with it. I remember I think it might even still be at my parents' house. and it was like baby blue, and it was so pretty, and I think it was 148, which is bigger than I ride now, and yeah, absolutely loved it. Like I couldn't stop looking at it. You know, when you're like, oh my god, I finally got snowboard.
Yeah, well, I guess that kind of wanting one and it being on your Christmas list and everything for so long. So when you finally get one,
yeah,
then that's your thing, isn't it? Like it's so treasured.
Yeah, I love it. I wonder if that's why I've held on to it. I don't know, because I've definitely sold lots of snowboards over the years. But
yeah,
that
you should definitely never get rid of that one.
Okay, I'll keep that.
I wish I had. In fact, I had one that I had like a secondhand one that I got just because I wanted something. And then I remember getting the one that I actually wanted, and it got nicked in Val d'Isère on my first season before I'd even got a season pass.
Oh my god, that's devastating.
And I've tried. Do you know what? I've been on forums and like Facebook groups and stuff to try and find one of those boards. I'm like, if anyone's got one, I will literally pay any amount of money for it. And I just don't know if any exist in the world. I had somebody trying to sell me like the year later one, and I was like, no, that's not the one. And he was like, it must be. This is the only one that. And I was like, no, it's not it. I would pay any amount of money to have that board back.
Oh, I believe you. I feel like you need to start a little campaign.
Somebody must have one somewhere. If someone's got an Apocalypse Fuse 6, 93, 94, I will give you good money for that. But I don't know. It's funny where all this shit ends up, isn't it, really? Because, like, where'd all these boards go? That's a bigger question for another time, maybe.
Yeah, I think maybe.
So tell me about this, because I've seen these courses in Canada and, like, you know, learn to become an instructor. And it always fascinates me that there seems to be a kind of, you learn to snowboard. Lots of people become instructors quite soon after they've kind of learned or got to a certain standard. There seems to be like, almost like that cements you as a snowboarder, or that kind of means that you're that thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, because there's a bit of that in skiing as well, but I don't know any other sports where kind of the pathway into being an instructor is so kind of immediate. Apart from maybe yoga, people always want to become yoga instructors as soon as they've done some yoga, don't they? But yeah, so I'm interested about these courses because I've seen them advertised. There's a place, they've got a sign-written van or a car that I see on the school run. And they might even be the same people. I think they're called Non-Stop or something like that.
Yeah.
And, anyway, I'm sort of rambling. Yeah, but I just find it interesting, like how, like that people do that, and there's a business around it, because it's not something that I've ever really thought about doing. So tell me what leads you to doing it and like affording it and thinking, right, it's going to be 3 months. You know, like it's a big commitment.
Yeah. It is. I mean, for me, it was a family friend had done the same course. So she's a brilliant snowboarder. She doesn't really ride anymore. Her name was Ivy Taylor, or her name is Ivy Taylor. She was on Team GB for a bit, doing like border cross.
Oh, right.
She was sort of a family friend, and she had done it a few years earlier. She's a little bit older than me. So my mum knew I wanted to snowboard. Yeah. So she was sort of like, well, why don't you do this? And I actually think at the time I didn't do it necessarily to become an instructor. It was because it was a way to go snowboarding for 3 months with food, accommodation. You get qualification at the end of it, but also it teaches you to ride really well. So I think sort of I did level 1 and level 2. And I think level 1 was very much about me learning to actually ride. Right. And, you know, that, you know, I got really confident then. And then level 2 really pushed me. That was much harder. And yeah, it wasn't, I mean, it was about the qualifications, and I rode, I didn't have a single day off that winter. I rode every single day that I was allowed to ride. And it was hard. It was hard because I hadn't been somebody that had spent their childhood snowboarding every winter. It just hadn't happened. But I loved it. But there is so many more of them now. There were not that many, I don't think, when I was 18. Well, there was less options. Yeah. I would imagine there's loads now. And I ended up out in Quebec. So I was like in East Canada, whereas everyone's like, oh, did you go to Whistler? Did you go to Banff? And I'm like, no, I was like, I flew to Montreal and was at a mountain called Le Massif, and it was so cold, but it was incredible. And then I came back, and I was like 18, like going to uni in Manchester, And my parents were like, oh, why don't you see if you can get a job at Chill Factor? So I went into Chill Factor and dropped my CV in, and they literally gave me a job on the spot, which was amazing. So I then, like, what a cool job to have at uni. I was at university and teaching snowboarding at the weekend.
Cool.
It was cool.
Is there something in, because obviously I think for a while my parents despaired because I would go off in the winter. I mean, I wasn't coming back with a qualification in anything, that's for sure. I was just going and having fun.
Yeah.
And there was never, you know, like at the time it wasn't really like, is there a career in this? It was just something that I like to do.
Yeah.
Is there something in there sort of saying to your parents, yeah, I'm going to go and do this thing. It's going to cost me some money, but I'm going to come back with something.
Yeah.
Like you feel like you can justify it a little bit more rather than just like, I'm going to come back having smashed my liver and my body to pieces.
Yeah, I think so. And I think with that one, like, it was something that my mum's friend's daughter had done. So she was like confident that it wasn't going to be just 3 months of partying. But also I don't think she would have cared if it was. My mum and dad are like fully supportive of whatever we want to do. And obviously I was coming back to go to uni, and I did do 3 years at university.
What did you study at university?
I studied marketing.
Okay.
Which is fine, and I kind of work in that a little bit now. But my whole time at uni, I just wanted to get away again. And I think part of that was because I was working at Chill Factor. So I was making friends and meeting people who had gone on these incredible winters where they had worked and some of them hadn't worked, and they'd gone away. So I was, as soon as uni finished, I was, very much right, I'm going away on some winters now.
Did you get involved in like the university sort of skiing and snowboard championships and all that kind of business?
So a little bit. I never really competed or anything like that. I was like part of the ski club.
Yeah.
But I think that's down to the fact that I was working at the Snowdome. So most of my snowboard friends were people at the Snowdome rather than people just part of the university club.
Right.
We did go on a couple of, the uni holidays, but I didn't, I've never been to any of the uni comps or anything like that. No, but yeah, I was part of the club.
Because we've, I think it came to Les Arcs a couple of times. I remember being with Jamie Baker up outside a bar, and there was hundreds of people. And it just used to, don't know, it's just, I think the holidays were pretty cheap.
Yeah, they were so
they obviously
cheap.
had numbers, and obviously somewhere like Les Arcs, it's all apartments, so I guess they could get that pretty cheap. And so the holidays were really cheap. And I just thought that would be obviously an easy or cost-effective way of getting a week out in the mountains, but they were like, it was carnage.
Yeah, they were so messy. So we'd get a coach out, and they were so cheap that I, at the time, took something like 4 or 5 friends who were not part of the university, who would just worked at Chill Factor. Yeah. And I was like, why don't you come on our uni trip? And they were like, yeah, sure. And then you'd get the coach out, and you'd all be in like dorm rooms, but it didn't matter. It was, at the time I was like 20, so but they were so messy.
Yeah.
But I've never been one of those people that would get so messy that you couldn't get up the next day to go snowboarding.
Yeah, there's that snow bombing as well, isn't there? That's like a big party snowboarding trip. Yeah. And I've always wondered what the attraction is if you want to go out at night and get loose, for want of a better word. And then how you marry that up with getting your ass up the mountain and getting the most out of that. And I don't really know how those worlds, I don't know how that sort of marries itself. I guess it's fine on a season because you can have some days off. But if you're there for a week, like you can't have a day off. You've got to get out there because otherwise what's the point? You can go and get fucked up at home. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
So I've always wondered about things like snow bombing, like what the actual point is and who would pay that money to go on them. Surely you just go somewhere where you can lie in the sun all day and go out at night.
Yeah, I don't know. I think when I was younger, I used to be able to do it a bit more. Like you could just wake up and go. But now I'd like to be in bed with a cup of decaf tea by sort of 9:30, ready.
You're only 35.
36 now.
36.
Yeah. But still, I couldn't do that anymore. But I reckon, like, when you're young, you can do anything, right? People like have no sleep and get up and go snowboarding. I don't know, but then maybe half of them don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely something in the amount of energy one has when they're younger.
Definitely.
I don't feel I have that same energy.
No.
Maybe it gets used up in different ways. I think it gets used up in different ways.
Possibly for children. Get out of you.
Very definitely children.
I think so.
Let's not dwell on moaning about my kids. Okay, so you've been working at so you're still sort of pretty closely associated with Chill Factor, aren't you?
Yeah. So it's been like dome riding in general has been like a huge part of my life, I think.
Yeah.
After I came back from winter, so I did the 3 winters in a row, I think. So
All in the same place?
No, so obviously I did my first one in Canada, and then I had 3 years of uni, and then I went out to Tahoe in California.
Oh yeah.
Did a winter there, and then the following year.
What took you to Tahoe? Because that's quite an unusual. I mean, like the real rite of passage is just to go to French Alps or maybe Austria, isn't it?
Yeah, I really wanted to snowboard in America. I thought it looked amazing. I had friends that had been to Tahoe before. I had said that's where I wanted to go, and had found some people that were going. So it was like, can I jump in a house with you?
Wicked.
And then some of my friends tagged along as well, and we ended up getting this huge house at Kings Beach, and it was unbelievable.
Where's Kings Beach near? Like, what's your nearest resort in Tahoe?
North Star.
Okay.
North Star. I think it's north of the lake. Yeah, North Star. And then you've got like Heavenly is like south of the lake, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Right.
And I spent 3 months there, not working, just riding. So nice. I'd spend my summers working, and we generally worked within the industry. So I left Chill Factor to go to Tahoe. I couldn't sort of stay on. But then I came back and got a job with TSA. So I worked at TSA in the summers and the winters. Yeah, I did that for a few years.
You've done a stint at the TSA as well, have you?
Yeah, kept leaving and coming back. So loved that. And then also worked for Monster Energy briefly as well between winters. But yeah, then my second winter was at Bear Mountain. So not very mountainy. Oh.
No, but that's like a real hub of, like a real freestyle mecca, isn't it?
It was amazing. It was like, I feel bad saying this, now I have a child, but it was the best 3 months of my life being at Bear Mountain.
That's fine. There's no judgment here.
Yeah, okay, perfect. That was incredible. And being so close to LA, like we had a really big house of people, and we would drive to LA. Our passes only work Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday maybe. So we'd spend the weekend in LA or
no way.
It was cool. And then we'd go to Vegas there's just something so cool about like spending your winters in California.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did that for a couple of years, and then but I'd always ride the domes in the summer. Yeah. And it's funny because my riding, you wouldn't notice it progressing in the winter, but then you come back and ride the domes in the summer, and you'd be like, oh, actually, I wouldn't hit this rail before, and now I will. Or I could only do this trick on that feature, and so it's really cool. So I've always ridden the domes, and then I did like half a winter in Morzine, but I also went off and did some like surfing in the summer, like at Sri Lanka. So I like split my season half summer, half winter.
Tell me about Morzine, because I did a season there. I can't remember what year. We had the chalet there for 1 year. Well, we had the chalet there for 3 years, but the first one, I ran it with Kathy G, Adam Gendell's sister.
Yeah.
How did you get on with Morzine?
So I love Morzine. I've been quite a few times now.
Yeah.
I think because I do like park riding. Like you could just lap Chappelle Park really easily. There's obviously the other park, I don't know what's called, across the hill. There's Avoria has more than Morzine. I just think I quite like fast laps on runs that I know are really good fun.
Yeah.
I went for I don't know how long I went for, maybe like 8 weeks. So it wasn't a full winter. It was just a couple of months, and I was with my daughter's dad. We're not together anymore, but he's a fantastic skier,
right.
And so we yeah, we just absolutely loved it. But we stayed in different places. So like we did 1 week in Avoriaz, then 1 week down in Mozzie, and then a week somewhere else. And we already had friends out there, you know, and we knew Jason and Fish and some, I don't know, Jason Rickwood and Sarah Fish.
I don't know them, no.
Okay, so Fish set up Gypsy Snowboarding, which is out in Mozzie.
Right.
And yeah, so we knew people around, so it was just cool. It was nice, and different weeks, different people would come out, or like sometimes, you know, there was 1 week where my sister came out and a friend. Yeah. It was just nice. I really liked it.
Did you get decent snow? Because from my time there, we had the season I did there. It snowed and snowed and snowed, and it was great. The last season we had there, we had the chalet there. It was green fields.
Yeah.
And that was kind of why we bailed on it, because a good season's a good thing, but a bad season, like business-wise, was really hard.
Yeah, I actually can't remember, so I think it was probably just fine.
Just all right, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just all right. I remember it being very sunny.
Yeah.
So I think maybe there wasn't loads of snow, but it was nice. And we rode every day that we could. So yeah, I loved it. It was nice. I do like Mozzie. I've not been for a few years, but I would go back.
Did you have visions of wanting to be, I don't know if you are or not, or like, you know, sponsored and pro and all that sort of thing?
So I was never massively driven with like competing. I genuinely snowboarded just because I love snowboarding.
Yeah.
When I was 22 or 23, I got hooked up with Spy. They like, it was John Bentley and Jamie Keeble at the time were like, I don't know, distributing Spy, and they were like, oh, let's put together a little UK team.
Yeah.
So that was pretty fun. So, you know, just getting free stuff's nice, isn't it? And I got to go on, they took me to the board test, and, you know, there was like a UK dome tour trip and stuff like that. And that was pretty cool. And I've always had little hookups here and there where I can get, you know, cheap stuff, but I was never bothered, and probably never good enough really to, you know, to get on any of the sort of big brands. But it wasn't a huge thing to me.
It's just interesting because I'm assuming that the time that where you are in time that you're talking about now is kind of, I was firmly just in Borg East doing my thing. You could kind of feel that the industry was shrinking.
Yeah.
Like going back to that, talk about West Beach earlier. You know, I think I went to one of the last, it was called Soltex. I think it changed its name to Slide, and it was in Telford. And I remember I hadn't been for a few years. And I turned up there because I was going to be DJing at a party. And I just remember it being really small. And I was out in France doing the chalet, and then just sort of like, we moved down here and all this sort of thing. So I didn't really know what was going on really sort of in the industry or who was riding. And there's a whole sort of chunk of my knowledge about British snowboarding that I'm just like, I don't know much about at all. And it sounds like you're right in that.
I think so.
Right in that period. So, you know, you're sort of saying that, you know, you got hooked up with goggles. I mean, I remember the days where, you know, like you'd almost, it's like everyone was hooked up with everything.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? There was so much stuff flying around. And, you know, I talked to Stuart Morgan a few weeks ago who used to do Oakley. And I mean, there was just, you know, like pairs of goggles were just handed out. You know, like if someone had foggy goggles on the mountain, he'd just give them a pair. Do you know what I mean? There was so much. And then obviously that shrank right down, and obviously everything became, you know, like precious.
Yeah.
And so the opportunities are different. So I want to kind of know more about sort of how the scene looked to you at that time, because I don't really have a lens on it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think people were getting hooked up, but it definitely wasn't like it used to. Like, I've got friends who'd be like, oh, people used to be able to make money off this. Like, people were getting paid, and, you know, they do huge trips. And, like, that did not happen when I was snow. Like, there was the best riders in the UK. They were getting trips and they were getting stuff, but it definitely wasn't as much as it used to be. And even now, I don't think that exists as much. I don't think so anyway. But but some of my friends were getting hooked up. Like, I did a winter with when I was in Barrows with my friend Orla. She was a brilliant snowboarder, still is a brilliant snowboarder, but just does it less. And she got hooked up by Burton, which was so fun. It was like, this is cool that she's riding for Burton. But again, and like she did get to go on some really cool trips. I think they went to New York, possibly.
Wow.
And but I think that was rare. But maybe, I don't know, maybe it's happened a lot more.
But I guess, I don't know, were people still, I mean, you'll know through being at the Chill Factor and stuff, were less people interested in snowboarding sort of through that period when it sort of shrank? Was the sort of general population still doing it, or did it, or did the sort of general public consensus sort of think, oh, actually, we're not that interested in that for a while?
So I don't know. I think there's always been a huge interest in snowboarding, and like even now, I think that, I mean, the community at Chill Factor, which actually has just rebranded to the Snow Centre. So apologies, Chill Factor, for keep calling it Chill Factor. But the scene there's amazing, and it's huge now. Like, I think there's a really big community, but I think you've got to be in it to know it. Yeah. So when we were at the board test this winter, I had a conversation at breakfast of two people, and somebody was saying, oh, there isn't really a UK scene anymore, not like there used to be. Yeah. And I was sat there like, oh my God, the UK scene is amazing at the moment. Like there are people that are riding every single week, and some are sponsored, some aren't, and some are completely new, but the community surrounding the domes, well, particularly Manchester, I can't necessarily speak for all the other domes. Yeah. But it's like, it's amazing, and there's like new people coming into it all the time, and there's faces there who I've seen over the last 10, 15 years still coming back, but there's also like new people as well. And I think it's thriving, but maybe not so much there's not necessarily money being thrown at it, and brands aren't necessarily hooking people up as much, but it's cool.
That's interesting, because maybe it's to do with, I guess there used to be a lot more dry slopes and communities around them. Like certainly from my point of view, there was, I think, 5 in and around London, all with a scene attached to it, and they've all gone. Like you've got you got Hemel now, which is a snow dome, and there's a tiny little one about 40 minutes from here that's a dry slope, but actually that's where Mia Langridge started to ride. And I was about to say, I don't think there's much going on there, but maybe there's more going on there than I know about, because I don't go there.
Yeah, that's it. I think the problem with the snow domes is they are expensive. Yeah. So compared to a dry slope, they're not as accessible to people because it does cost so much more to go to them.
Yeah, I took my boys to Hemel last week. Yeah. It's the first time I've been there since it was a dry slope.
Honestly.
And it is prohibitively expensive. I know you can get a season pass, and there are probably good deals that you can, but for a one-off, like it was a solid 4-hour round trip. Yeah. So it's not an easy thing to do.
It's not. It's interesting that you say that. So I think I mentioned to you, I've written an article for The Reason that's hopefully going to come out next month. But there's somebody, so that talks about women in UK snowboarding, and it's and I mean I can give you the backstory as to how that came about, but I talked to a girl called Yella. She rides Hemel. Right. She is a very, very good skateboarder, recently turned snowboarder. Right. So I'm not necessarily talking about in this article the people with the most amazing abilities. It's kind of it's a wide range of different women, but she rides Hemel, and she talks about Hemel as her local dome. But when I was talking to her, I was like, oh, do you want to come for a drink afterwards? And she was like, oh, I can't, I've got to get the bus. And I was like, oh, right, okay, where do you live? And she was like, oh, I live in Essex. And I was like, my geography's all over the place. I was like, all right, how long's that? She's like, it's about 2.5 hours.
Fucking hell.
She rides Hemel every single Thursday. No way. And takes a snowboard on the bus for 2.5 hours there, 2.5 hours back, for 4 hours riding. And I'm like, because she just loves snowboarding. Yeah. And it's like, but these are the people that are going to the domes, and it's like, it's not necessarily accessible and it is expensive, but if you love it, you make it happen.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear. I'm actually glad to hear that because there's a whole bunch of us that used to drive up from, Kent, London, up to Tamworth for their Saturday night freestyle sessions back in the day.
Yeah.
And that was just like, why wouldn't you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're young, you've got a car.
Yeah.
That's where it's happening. So just get involved.
Yeah, I was the same. I used to hit 3 domes in 1 week. We'd go
no way
on a Tuesday, Chill Factor on a Thursday, and Cass on a Friday.
Yeah.
And it's like, I worked at TSA at the time, and it was with my friend Charlie. I don't know if you know Charlie Quinn. He's like been part of the scene for a very long time. Right. But we'd have this arrangement with our manager that we could leave an hour early to miss the traffic. You would skip lunch, we'd leave an hour early to skip the traffic.
Yeah.
Sit in the car for 3.5 hours to get to Tamworth. But then we'd have, honestly, the best nights of our lives. Like, the amount of times that I've come out of a snow dome and said that was the best night I've ever had. And you're just slapping 108 meters. Do you know what I mean? It's wild.
Yeah.
But and then we do it again on Thursday, then we do it again on Friday. Like, we just loved it.
See, I think when someone says that the scene doesn't exist, then I think, they're maybe just not talking to the people that are
in it.
That are down doing it, because they don't know that those people are doing it. Like, I guess on the board test, for instance, you would assume that everyone's kind of the industry people, whereas actually the board test now is, more people that are kind of in the scene, but not necessarily in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Which I think makes it more fun, because it's like you can actually see what the community's like rather than just like the people that are selling snowboards.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be cool to get more of that as well, like more people from the scene out there. But obviously it is an industry event. So
yeah, it's sort of an industry event, isn't it? But then I think if it stokes people out to go snowboarding, then it should be made a bit wider to get people stoked on snowboarding.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, the board test. Are you going to go next year, do you think?
I don't know. I'm going to see. I've booked in. I've got like a week reserved at the moment to go to Austria, but to Absolute Park. So I went last year. I took my daughter on the mountain snowboarding for the first time, probably. And it was the best week of my life. So I rebooked that in with some friends to take her back. But I'll see. So the problem is it's an expensive hobby, isn't it? So
it is an expensive hobby, but let's dig into talking about being a mum who snowboards.
Yeah. It's taken a while to get to the point where...
How old is your daughter?
So Ethel is 7.
Okay, so late 20s as a mum.
28 when I had her, yeah. And it was incredible. Like, I absolutely love being a mum. It's amazing. But snowboarding definitely then got put on hold a little bit. Like, I'd still ride the domes occasionally. And did we go away with her? No, Tom and I never took her away until, I took her away then, when she was a little bit older.
Does your desire to do it drop at all? Or does your fear of getting hurt play a factor in any of this stuff?
Yeah, I think a little bit of all of that. I don't know. I'm definitely not pushing myself, but I don't know whether that's because I've got a child or maybe because I'm just a little bit older now. Maybe I'm not pushing myself as much as I used to. But there was definitely a period where I didn't snowboard as much.
Yeah.
Because I had a young child, and also me and her dad separated, so it would depend on when park nights were and when did I have my daughter, and and I couldn't necessarily take her. What's really cool though is when you are connected with people in the industry. Like, I managed to get Etty on a snowboard when she was 18 months, whereas technically Chill Factor don't do lessons for snowboarders until they're 8. Whereas I don't know if you know John Weatherly, the BB Trap Lord.
I know. Yeah, I've been told that I need to speak to him.
You definitely do. He's a huge part of snowboarding for me and for like our not generation, but whatever, wave.
Yeah.
But he was like, oh, just bring Etty on a board when I'm running one of my booby trap sessions. So she's always known snowboarding. I actually don't know if that's necessarily been a good thing, because it's...
In what way do you mean that?
So she's never known life without snowboarding, so she knows how to snowboard. She can link her turn. She's a good little rider. For me, I was desperate to snowboard because I'd seen it and I wanted to do it. So when I did it, I was like, wow, I'm finally doing this. Whereas for Ethel, F, same person. It's not novel to her.
Yeah.
So we go snowboarding and she's not that asked about it. Like, she likes it. I wouldn't say she absolutely loves it. It's definitely my thing that she can do and come along with. Maybe that will change as she grows up. She's still 7. She's still, wants to play with Barbies or whatever.
Yeah.
But I do wonder if I'd not got her on it so early and then she'd seen other kids doing it. And because, in fact, the community around sort of children at the Chill Factor is amazing as well. Like, there's a real group of parents and kids that's quite nice and quite wholesome. But I wonder if she'd seen that, whether she would then be like, oh, Mummy, I want to do that. Can I give it a go? Whereas instead she was like, I can't really be bothered snowboarding tonight. And I'm like, okay, we won't go.
As your heart breaks in two.
Yeah, but I'm very aware that it's my thing and she'll find her own thing. She loves gymnastics and cartwheeling and whatever she wants to do, she can do. But I just like the idea of her having a skill that she's able to do, and we can go away in the winters together because maybe she gets a bit bored of riding in the domes, but actually when we were in Austria in March, she loved it. Like, she absolutely loved it. And it's because it's completely different, isn't it? You've got the mountains around you, you're there with your friends, you're not just going down for 10 seconds and then back up on the lift. You could be on the run for 20 minutes. So
yeah, totally
different.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? Because we did the opposite. Well, we didn't do the opposite, but we sort of did do the opposite to you because of funds, basically. We've got 3 kids, and for about 6 years, none of us went at all. And I felt, when I sort of did manage to go again, like, I felt guilty because my wife likes snowboarding. It's sort of one of the things that we've always done together. And then... and then sort of feeling bad when the kids are starting to show an interest, and it's like, yeah, I'm going away snowboarding, and they're like, can we come? And you're like, no. And then we took them at Easter this year, and watching them get into it was just the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Like, they all sort of took to it in their own way. My daughter is sort of saying that she's not that bothered. But I think if we, if it's a holiday, she'll come and she'll do it.
Yeah.
I think maybe last year it was just a bit mental, like where we were staying was quite busy and everything. But I think she found the whole thing quite overwhelming. But watching, and then, like, one of my kids is sort of going, okay, what job should I get when I do a season? Like, he's already thinking like that, and it's like wicked. This is good.
Really cool.
This is something that we can all do together. This is a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think having that, like, we decided not to take them to a dome or dry slope for lessons beforehand. We figured that the novelty of taking them to the mountains and having all that going on at the same time would just sort of root them there immediately. Then the lessons would sort of like come and go. Do you know what I mean? Whilst being surrounded by all this stuff, rather than dry slope, like a piss wet February evening on a dry slope. It's like, are they going to find any fun in this, or are they going to see this as a chore? Whereas actually, just rocking up and sort of, we blew the budget on lessons and everything. So, we sort of figured for the first week, we'll go all in, get them lessons, get them up to a standard, so that after this first week, when we go away, we can all just ride around together, even if it's really slowly, we can do it together. It's something that we can all do. So that was kind of the way we went, which sounds like the opposite.
Yeah. I mean, you're never going to, somebody said to me the other day, she was like, you're always going to question how you did it. Like, because I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have got her on a board when she was 18 months. But then my friend was like, yeah, but if you hadn't and you were teaching her now, you might be like, oh, I wish I'd got her on a board when she was 18 months. Like, it's really hard. I mean, it's like that as a parent in all aspects, isn't it? You're like, am I doing this right? But we'll see. The beauty of our trip to Austria in the winter was that we had John came with us, John Weatherly.
Right.
So I was with two other families, and he coached the kids while we were there.
Nice.
So we could dip in and out. So
Yeah.
because I know if it was just me and Etty on the slope, she gets very stroppy. We know how to push each other's buttons. You know, if she fell over, she'd look to me to cry. Whereas if I'm not there, she's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Sorry, my teams. But it's just, yeah, I think you've got to, I don't know, she has to have other distractions and other stuff going on. Whereas if it's just me and her, she would, I don't think it would necessarily go too well. I think because we spend so much time together and it's just us two, that it's just like another thing.
And also it's kind of the amount of energy, you know, like you won't expend as much energy going down a run as she will. Do you know what I mean?
Course not,
and you've got to understand, you know, like that was my thing. It was just like, we'll just do as much as they want.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they start looking tired, we'll quit, because there's no point pushing them too much, even though, you know, like 4 runs to me is nothing, but 4 runs to them is like a big achievement. Do you know what I mean? So you just sort of have to dial it all back. But luckily, because I'd been away quite a bit last winter, I was like, if I do 2 runs, I'm still happy. Do you know what I mean? Like I've done some snowboarding, so I'm fine. But I guess the tricky thing comes in if it's all your one holiday all in together and everybody's got their kind of needs, you know, obviously, if you know, like you'd like a powder day, do you know what I mean? And if it snowed and you're pootling around and you can see like great stuff to hit, you'd be a bit like, oh man, I wish I could go and get some of that, but I'm stuck. Do you know what I mean? Like there's all different people's needs. Whereas, you know, for me, I didn't have any needs. I was like, I'm good. I just want to watch my kids go snowboarding.
Yeah, I agree. When we went away, I was very aware that I had the board test coming up without her. Yeah. So I was like, do you know what? Even though it's obviously end of season, snow's never going to be amazing. I was like, I can do so, you know, I can do some fast laps then. For now, we can just chill. But yeah, no, it's good. And it's amazing. Like I can see our futures where we do have these amazing holidays together, even if she's not into snowboarding as her main hobby. Like we're going to be able to have these incredible holidays. And I already imagine where we're going to go in the future. You know, like I want to take her out to California and I want to take her out to Japan. And yeah, I just think in the future.
You've got Japan on your hit list, have you?
Well, I've been to Japan as for a holiday. We did a week riding before obviously I had Etty. Did a week in Niseko and then just a week in Tokyo.
Right.
It was just insane.
Tell me more about that.
So
Did you go as part of a crew, or did you sort of do it off your own?
I just went with my partner at the time, Etty's dad.
Yeah.
And yeah, as I said, he's a really good skier, so we were like, oh, let's go and hit some powder in Japan. And I've always been a bit of a nervous sort of off-piste rider. I think Tom, Etty's dad, has been in a couple of avalanches before, and one of them kind of put him off skiing. So he you know, he got to quite a high level of skiing, and then kind of quit after that. One of his friends ended up in hospital for quite a while, and so I think I had the fear of that. And then when I worked at the TSA, I did. Have you ever done Henry's avalanche talk?
I know about Henry's avalanche. I think I've seen Henry back in like 94 in Val d'Isere. He used to at Dick's Tea Bar. I mean, that fucking ages me as well. But yeah, what a dude. He's a proper lifer, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he is. And I went to one of his talks, like all excited to learn how to ride off piste. But actually, all it did was put me off riding off piste. I was like, why would anybody do that? I don't want to have to put my airbag up. Like, I don't want that. But what was beautiful about Japan is it's not too steep. So you get the powder, but you're not really scared of avalanches. So it was so much fun. And the powder was amazing. It was incredibly cold. And we did have to stop a lot for little hot chocolates in this little shack at the bottom. Yeah. But it was cool. But I'd love to go back there and take Etty there. I think that's pretty sick.
I've never been. It's on the hit list.
Really
well, it's on the hit list, but it's how we managed to do that logistically.
Yeah. It's tricky.
Pretty almost impossible, I would say.
Yeah.
I've kind of almost written it off.
Well, no, maybe you just need to wait until your kids are grown up and
yeah, but I might be I'll have to get some step-ons because I won't be able to bend over.
Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. I think the tech in snowboards is amazing these days, and you know, you won't have to bend at all.
Yeah. Have you tried just as an aside? Have you tried step-ons?
So I haven't tried the Burton step-ons. I have tried some. So at the moment, I ride. Lauren from Ragdoll hooked me up with a GNU board and some bent metal bindings.
Oh yeah.
And I've tried their version. I mean, they're not step on. They still have the straps, but where you literally slide your foot in.
Is that the phase one?
You. Yeah, I can't remember what they're called. I should know really. But they were cool. They were really cool. It took some getting used to, and I definitely fell over a couple of times to begin with.
Yeah.
But actually, it does make life easier if you want to clip in fast.
Yeah. Tell me about snow cone.
Okay, yeah, snow cone came about last year. So 3 things all happened at once last year.
Yeah.
So I can kind of tell you about all 3 at the same time, and it set my 2025 up so nicely. But so I can't remember what happened first. So I went to the exhibition in London, you know, the 35 years of UK snowboarding that TSA and
the photo gallery thing.
It was so cool. Yeah, so I went down to London to that, and I thought this is really, really cool. But I noticed that there just wasn't that many sort of photographs of women. I think there was something like 8 or 9, which is understandable because, you know, it's 35 years of snowboarding, and there weren't that many women sort of 35 years ago riding.
Do you know what? That is a thing. Like when I started this, and it's like we're looking into the history. When I'm looking back, there's just not many women. You go to a competition, and this is maybe a bit unfair, there were girlfriends kind of hanging around watching, but in terms of girls riding, you know, there was a handful at best.
Yeah, well, exactly. And then also people didn't have cameras. Like the people who were having their photos taken or were having videos filmed were absolutely the top of the game with somebody who had, you know, could afford the tech. So I completely understood, like, you know, why there was less pictures of women, and the ones that were there were from more recent years.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it'd be really cool to somehow, you know, sort of show or represent how many women there are in UK snowboarding now. Yeah. So sort of a few things happened at once. One of them was the article for the reasons. So I reached out to Ian and Shannon. Well, Shannon was there on the day, and I was talking to him about it. But I was like, oh, it'd be really cool if we could do something to show the women who are riding the UK domes at the moment. Yeah. And that's how this little project's come about. So I've spent the last sort of 10 months with my friend Chris, who's a photographer. I don't know if you know Chris Cartwright. No. His son is Max, who was at the board test, but he's quite a quiet guy. So Max works at Subvert, which is why he was at the board test. But so Chris is a fantastic photographer, and he's actually always championed like women's snowboarding. So Ian was like, yeah, do you know what, let's go ahead and write this article, maybe interview some women, and Chris can take the photos. So it's actually been really fun. We've spent like the last few months traveling around all the domes, taking these amazing pictures of these women, everything from like kids to, you know, I interview a woman called Karen, who's been part of the UK scene for sort of as long as I have. She's started snowboarding at 43. Right. She's now 63. No, and she is, you know, still progressing, pushing herself, hitting rails, board sliding pipes. Like, she is cool. She spends her winters out in Meyerhofen now, and then rides the domes all summer. So I could talk about her. Yeah. Just to really represent and to get some really nice pictures of you know, these women in the magazine. So that was sort of something that came about, and it tied in really nicely with sort of, I'd spoken to Chill Factor about setting up sort of social sessions to kind of get women together. And it did start off as, you know, let's get women together, but actually it isn't really just for women. I guess they're designed with women in mind, but we get quite a few guys coming along, right? And they are just sort of intentional sessions to chat off the slope. Yeah. I think I found with snowboarding, you meet a lot of women who really are on their own. Like, so I've got a really big friendship group from sort of school and home. There's like 13 of us. And, you know, at one point we've all snowboarded, but I'm the only one that got the bug for it. Do you know what I mean? Everyone can kind of take or leave it. Those that have tried it. And I quite often find that's the case. Like, sometimes you get, you know, somebody riding Chill Factor and they're on their own because their mates don't snowboard, but they just love it. Yeah. So it's like kind of to bring people together. And, you know, there is a really nice community at the domes already. And quite often we go to the pub afterwards, but it's not like a formal thing. It's not, not everyone on the slope knows that we're going to the pub, and maybe there is somebody there who actually does want to get to know people, but they're too scared to say hi, or they're intimidated because that person's a bit better than them, or whatever. So I sort of spoke to Chill Factor about, setting up these social sessions, and they were like, yeah, go for it. It has turned into something not bigger than I expected, but it looks slightly different to what
you thought.
What I'd planned, and like better, actually.
So tell me what sort of form it takes. Like, how are they structured, or like, when do they happen? Yes.
We have run different ones throughout the year. We ran one in January, and then we had a little bit of break because the snow domes do get incredibly busy in the winter. So it was hard work to get the space to do them. And then we started again in May. But they're everything from, like, sometimes we meet before riding for a coffee, and then we all go on the slope together. Or I think most of them have been after riding, so we'll all meet on the slope, and we have these like little scrunchies that if somebody's new, they can come and grab a scrunchie, and it's on show, so we know to talk to them.
Yeah.
So my friend Amy sort of really helps with it. She's been a big part of it. So we both need to look out for people who've got scrunchies. And then, we've got a set time that we meet in the lodge, so the bar at the Chill Factor,
right.
Where we'll either have breakfast or we'll have drinks, or, a couple of months ago, we did like a snowboarding themed pub quiz, and it was absolutely hilarious. And, it just gets people together, and it's really popular, and it's really nice. And now I'm running a park session at the Northern Snow Show in October, and I think it's been a real success, and I'm hoping it's something that we're going to continue.
Is this something that other people that at other domes will take a lead on, so that there's things happening at the domes or even dry slopes?
Yeah, possibly. I guess because I'm in Manchester and that's my local dome, I've not sort of thought too far afield, I guess, because Chill Factor is so on board with it, the Snow Centre in Manchester now, and maybe, they're tied with, or they're the same company as the Snow Centre in Hemel, so maybe it's something that would be easily transferable there. I don't know. We also have a lot of support from Subvert Board Store, the snowboard shop in Chill Factor. They've been incredible, and they always give like free merch for people to have, so people come and they leave with a beanie or something. So, but I think this is why it became something that bigger than I expected, because as soon as I said I was doing it, suddenly Chris was like, well, I'll come and take pictures, and Subvert were like, well, we'll give you some free stuff, and somebody's like, oh, well, I can design you a logo, and I was like, okay, this is amazing. So
do you feel like it was something that was gonna happen, or like maybe other people were waiting for somebody to actually do it?
Yeah, I don't know. I know there are groups that have been set up, they're slightly different. So I think there's a group for women to snowboard together on like a Tuesday morning or something, which is really nice. And there's like somebody else set up like a work from home group where they snowboard together. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why it works, but
because it seems that, kind of the last time I was in a scene like that would have been riding dry slope, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And, the freestyle night was what drew everyone together.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of standard, the fact that snowboarders would all converge on one place at that time.
Yeah.
And that was the sort of catalyst for it. But obviously, as, I don't know, maybe you don't have to search things out as more. If you want to get your fix of snowboarding, you could, you can go anytime to a snow dome or a dry slope or whatever, or you can watch it online. It's sort of more visible. So back then, if you wanted to meet another snowboarder, you had to go and, physically find a snowboarder. So you had to go where they were, whereas obviously people can chat online and everything, all the stuff that we know about. And sorry, it's just started absolutely fucking hammering down. What was my point? But yeah, so like you had to go to a place, and there was like a place and a time, and that's what would happen. Whereas now you can sort of have your fix of snowboarding at any time. But with that, something's lost.
Yeah.
And so I think, part of the reason of doing the podcast is about a community thing. It's about getting people talking about snowboarding again. And, looking back maybe at what snowboarding they've done, and then looking forward again at like what snowboarding they want to do, and getting people talking about it. And I think maybe what you're doing is like a physical version of that, is actually like giving people a place and a time to come together, to meet those other people, because everyone, as you say, like, you could be working from home and never see another person that actually does the thing that you like doing.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I mean, there would definitely be, there is still some aspect of that, the freestyle nights are on set nights, and there is still a community around that absolutely is there, whether I run these snow cone sessions or not. But I guess what I'm doing is just a little bit more inclusive, and it brings people in that maybe wouldn't have been able to come otherwise. So there are people that, like you say, that work from home, so riding on a Tuesday morning or riding a Wednesday, and they have no idea that there's a whole community of snowboarders that would happily snowboard with them out there, or that could, I don't know, invite them to events or social gatherings or whatever. So yeah, I guess that is what it is. People, I do wonder what it's like, what next year will look like with it, whether we'll do something sort of similar, or whether there's a way to develop it, or I'm not really sure. We sort of, a few women have said to me, "Oh, would you ever run a holiday?" And I'm like, "Oh, maybe," but it's different, with these sessions. Obviously, yes, people have to buy a lift pass, but they will always be free. Nobody will ever be charged to attend a session. I think that takes away the inclusivity side of it.
Yeah, totally.
But it's like, as soon as you start planning a holiday and you're like, well, it's £1,200, it's much harder.
Yeah, we're doing a thank you snowboarding camp out in France this winter, and it's exactly that. It's like, I'd love for it to be really cheap, but unfortunately it's not going to be really cheap because of what we want to do and the cost. It just costs a whole bunch of money, like for the original plan we've got. And I have, sort of, since we've been talking about it, a couple of people have said, kind of, it's a bit outside of what we would want to do. So it's like, okay, what would it look like if we tried to run a similar thing, but, on a real budget? Like, how do you make that same experience and make it so that it is a coming together of people, not just a bunch of people in apartments, cooking for themselves? So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that. It's
tricky, isn't it?
It's a relatively expensive hobby. You're saying about doing it with the family, like family, if you want to take your kids away snowboarding, it's going to cost some money, but you sort of have to weigh up whether the benefits and what your kids experience through doing it is more valuable than, maybe like a beach holiday, an all-inclusive in the sun holiday. Do you know what I mean? And I think that I think it does. I think what you learn in the mountains and what you learn about yourself, about pushing yourself and everything, is far beyond going and, having all your meals cooked for you and drinks and whatever, ice cream and whatever you want at a swimming pool for a week.
Yeah.
But, that's how I feel about it.
Oh, I think it's definitely outweighs it. It's so much better being in the mountains. I love it. Don't get me wrong, I love a beach holiday, but I'd take the mountains every day of the week, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe it'll happen.
Well, there are other people having similar ideas, I would say. So you could talk to me about that.
Let me know if you get any cheap deals.
Yeah. Well, there's power in numbers, right? So we could definitely, I don't know, we could possibly make something happen. So where are you now with your own snowboarding? Yeah,
so I'm trying to ride as much as possible. I absolutely still love lapping the dome and hitting, I've done probably the same 6 tricks for the last 10 years and I don't care. I love them so much.
Go on and name them.
What
tricks have you got?
So I can front board. I don't spin out of anything. So front board, I back lip, I backboard, I front lip. I can do a back 3, sketchy back 1. Nothing groundbreaking. But I think because I've been doing them so long, I'm really, really comfortable with them.
Yeah.
But it's really funny because as soon as I'm like, I'm going to try something new, it's just like, I just feel like a complete beginner again. And my dream is to land a front board pretzel, which is it shouldn't be that difficult because I've been able to frontboard for such a long time, but I think I get so locked.
Big commitment in the pretzel though, isn't it?
Well, it's just like I can just front board, and then I always land with 90 degrees left to go every single time, and it's almost become a bit of a joke. Like it's, I've got friends that'll be like, "Are you going to front board pretzel tonight?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I even talk about it in the article because it's so irritating, but I just love it so much. I really do. Like I almost used to think it was a bit cringe how much I love going to the Snowdome, but I completely own it now.
Why do you think it was cringe?
I don't know. I think because when I was writing the article, I worked out how many years I've been dome riding, and it's been like 17 years. And I was like, oh, it's like fake snow, indoor, 180 meters. Like it just seems a bit wild, doesn't it? To somebody who's not in the UK snowboarding scene, I do wonder, to somebody external, are they a bit like, I don't get it? But that's fine. But I love it. And then I was really lucky because last winter, John and Lauren had a conversation, so Lauren from Ragdoll, about getting some dome riders on sort of Mervyn boards, so the boards that Lauren distributes. Yeah. And John was like, "Oh, I'd love you to be one of those riders." And I was like, "No way!" When you're like, I'm 35. Well, I was 35. Single mom, never expected to get hooked up with a board again and bindings. So I just grabbed it with both hands. I was like, absolutely. I didn't even
Tell me about when it turned up.
But when did
it turn up in the post or?
No, so I met Lauren in Subvert board store because Subvert are amazing as well, and they give me some clothes to ride in as well and some mitts and stuff. But so I met her there, and she was like, "Oh, here's your board," and I was like so excited. And like maybe like 10 years ago, I would be cool about it. And I think, some of the younger sponsored riders at the domes, because there were some really good girl riders at the domes at the moment, would maybe be a bit cool about it. But I wasn't. I was like, can I put this on my Instagram? Can I shout about this? Because this could just be for 1 year. I don't know what Lauren's plans are, for the winter or next winter. And if it, she decides to go in a different direction, that's totally cool. Absolutely buzzing that I've had. I got to say, I ride for canoe. I ride my canoe board. Or,
that's pretty sick. And canoes for women as well. I think canoe's quite a good, because back in the day, I don't know if you know about this, but they had one of their ads was like, "Our best rider is a girl." Barrett Christie, and I just think that's a great, like certainly at that time as well. It's like, what company's standing up and saying that? Like no one else was going to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think they're a cool brand. Lauren has some really cool brands, but I was like pretty buzzing to end up with a canoe board.
Yeah.
And I've loved it. And like even the graphic on the bottom, it's only, it's just a black base with white canoe, but it stands out. And I love any pictures I get with it because, conveniently, one of my best friends, Chris, who's taking the photos to the magazine, is a photographer, so he always rides with me, so he takes some cool pictures. So yeah, I love it, and it's cool, and you're like, oh yeah, I get snowboards. Like it feels good to say that at 35, 36.
Yeah, we're just thinking about from someone who never really got any kit because they were actually any good. I got kit because I was like DJing, or I was part of the scene, or kind of. We had the chalet, so we were, back then it wasn't called influencing, but we were sort of, signposting people to the kit that was good. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I got hooked up.
Yeah.
And then, kind of this season, people have given me some stuff, and I was like, when my board from Burton turned up again, I was just so fucking excited. Do you know what I mean? Like it hasn't lost any of its. And probably I appreciate it more now because I know the value of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I also know the value of why I'm getting it. And I think that's for you as well. Like you're actually putting yourself out to build a community of people and be cool to snowboarders who maybe see this scene and think, oh, maybe that's a bit cliquey or whatever. I don't, but it's those people that you want to say, no, come along. And they're looking after you because you're looking after snowboarders.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a great thing.
Yeah,
and it's great. It's great that that's being recognised. It's not just about like, are you a really good rider?
Yeah,
because actually, like that sort of, it used to be you had to be a good rider because that was the only way that people sort of valued it. Whereas now it's like, who's looking after snowboarding?
Yeah.
And I think that, that's as much as, if you're really, really good. Like how much, thinking about Mia and getting her sort of boot on Vans.
Oh my God, so cool.
That is such an achievement. But at the same time, do people go and buy boots because it's her boot?
Yeah.
Or is it just like that's a marketing thing? Do you know what I mean? Like, is anyone looking at Mia going, I want her boot because, do you know what I mean? I just don't know.
I reckon.
Do you reckon?
Like, I reckon there's guys out there that are like, I want Mia's boot. Like, I genuinely do. Like, she is so respected in snowboarding worldwide by women and men. Like, I think so. Like, I'd wear Mia's stuff because it's Mia's stuff, I reckon. But I don't know.
Well, being slightly outside the thing, that's a good question to ask you, actually. Do these, sort of back in the day, it was Terrier and Daniel Frank and, Jamie Lynn. Do people still care about, from your experience, do people still sort of care about pro riders and big names and what they're doing and all that stuff?
I think so. I think it's obviously very different. And I think the way that we consume their riding is different. Like everything is, in short bursts on Instagram. So it's like somebody could have a really sick clip and it's literally 10 seconds long, if that. So and I think there's so many more pro riders now because people have access to get their clips out there. So I think, whereas there might have been one rider that everyone was like, oh, this person's amazing. Whereas now it's like, well, I like this person and this person and this person and this person and this person. They're from all over the world.
Yeah.
But I still think, so like, just going back to UK snowboarding and not to keep going back to John, but with John Weatherly, like he's a legend in UK snowboarding at the moment. Like he, at the snow domes, like he teaches and he gets booked up so fast because people want John to teach them because he's got this kind of legend status where he's such a good snowboarder. But he also rides for shred sleds, and I think that was such a good shout for them to put John on a shred sled board. It was such a good move because people genuinely will buy that board because John rides it. So I do think it still works. But he's not a world famous rider. He's just somebody who he's really ridden the domes and has done a few winters and a few edits and stuff. But yeah, I don't know, I think there's still something in that with the pros. But I love it. I just love it. And I love that, we can now watch the X Games and there's a Brit riding in it. Like that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that is cool. I mean, being with when was that? January. Yeah, I think so. I've probably mentioned this last season on the podcast, but yeah, being with Mia's mum and dad when she won the Lax Open.
Yeah.
And just being with them sort of that whole morning, I think it was, and seeing sort of a family go through, quite a big deal. You sort of think, well, sort of she lives in Lax and I wonder how much of a big deal it is. It's becoming, whether it becomes more commonplace and expected. But seeing Nigel, and her going off and having conversations and seeing Vic, hanging out with Vicky and just the way it sort of played is quite mad. It was quite a mad experience seeing her win.
I can imagine.
And in terms of sort of personalities of pro riders, the only one, so Mia's a bit rock and roll. I'd say Valentino Giseli is totally rock and roll. Everyone else just seems, it feels maybe more of a sport. It's an athlete, it's an athletic thing rather than back in the day where it's sort of maybe more personality driven.
Yeah, I agree. And also I think what's changed now, and somebody actually mentioned this, I can't remember her name, on the Bombhole podcast, about how with women riders, there's so many now, you can actually be picky about whose style you like. Whereas actually before there were not that many women riders. And it was still amazing, like the achievements that they were making. But now it's like, you can be like, oh, look at Mia's style. Like that's sick. I prefer that over whoever else. And that's cool. But I think part of that is down to Mia's rock and roll attitude, isn't it? Like, she's just cool.
I think so. I was chatting to Mikey, her coach, out there, actually. And I don't want to sort of foreshadow the interview that I'm going to do with him. But yeah, he was saying that they sort of design her runs to look good for snowboarding, not for judges.
Which is amazing. Which
is amazing, given the sort of money involved and the people's livelihoods involved.
Yeah.
To actually have a bit of that like fuck you attitude is 100% what snowboarding needs to be about.
I agree. I totally agree.
Just when you just said about, sort of back in the day and the amount of women riding, I think I was trying to get to this earlier on, just thinking about how much about sort of snowboarding history, do you look back at all at any of that stuff? Like from before you started, were you aware of like, the early British scene and what it looked like? Like you would have seen it at the TSA photo exhibition last year. You would have seen image, like right back in the day stuff. Were you aware? Do you ever look back at any of that stuff and try and find out about it, or?
So I didn't know, but growing up, I didn't know about any of that stuff. But I guess it wasn't as accessible. Like
no,
where
you'd have had to buy a magazine, basically.
Exactly. So I used to, when I first got into snowboarding, I used to get white lines, but even you're talking about before then.
Yeah.
No, actually, I listened to your podcast. So that's where I've, some of the names that you've mentioned, even just on this this call now, is I'd never heard of, but now I know who they are because of your podcast, which is so interesting. I did have to stop listening to your podcast for a little bit because I got imposter syndrome about coming on here. I think the last one I listened to was Jenny Jones, and I was like, oh, she's an Olympic medalist. Like, I don't think I should be on this podcast. So I'll go back and start binging again after we finished. But no, I wasn't massively aware of the scene at all. Like, who was who? Like, you'd hear names, wouldn't you? Like, when I started snowboarding, somebody would be like, oh, I know this person, or Steve Bailey or whatever, but I didn't know who they were, and there was no way to really find out who they were. So
no, but I guess you probably met Steve now, haven't you?
I met him at the board test. Yeah.
What a legend.
Yeah, I wouldn't say know him well. He actually judged he said something complimentary about how I was waxing my snowboard. Like, I don't, but part of me was like, but I wax my snowboard all the time, so I do know how to do it. He was like, wow, you're doing a good job. I said, yeah, thank you.
Girls can wax their snowboards too, Steve.
Yeah. It was funny.
And so, snowboarding now, tell me, well, in fact, snowboarding now, you've sort of told me about that. So let's talk about, I guess we're nearing the end of this conversation.
Yeah.
Seems to be coming in a natural arc, which is good. Tell me about like what snowboarding means to your life, and then why someone else should go snowboarding.
So what it means to me. So I think about snowboarding all the time. I don't know if that's really tragic to say. I think about Ep7 the most, and then I probably think about snowboarding and maybe I should probably say it on par with work, but I'm not so sure.
It's fine.
I absolutely love it, and it's been the biggest part of my life. And it always will be. Like, I will snowboard for as long as I can, and with things like Burton step-on bindings, hopefully I'll be doing it until I'm 90. Maybe see a future where I live in the mountains. I don't know. I'll have to see what happens with life. Maybe
just as what's your day job like? What do you do to support your lifestyle?
So I work for charity in like a corporate partnerships role. So I work from home, so it's super flexible, but I really love it. And I when I was growing up, I wanted to work in snowboarding. I wanted to be part of the industry. Yeah. The jobs are so few and far between, and there really isn't any money. But actually, I think maybe it's a good thing that I don't work in the industry, because would I be as passionate about snowboarding today if I did? I don't know. Would novelty have worn off? Like when I worked at Chill Factor, I hardly ever rode. I started riding freestyle after I'd left. Like it's because you're there for so long, you kind of want to escape it. Yeah. So maybe I don't know. Maybe one day I'll get out to the mountains. I don't know. I could potentially work out there occasionally. I don't know. My daughter's too young, and she's stable and settled at school. I wouldn't take her out to the mountains, but maybe in the future. Why should people get into snowboarding? Because it's the absolute best. I met a girl in the pub at Chilfecta a few weeks ago, and she had just started riding.
Yeah.
And she said that she just got the bus for it and she'd never felt anything like it. And, you know, when you just get it, like, she's just somebody that got it, and I get that. And so if, you know, some people might do it and it's not for them, and that's totally fine. But it's like it can change your life, I think, because it's like people end up having friends from it and a community around it, and there's events and there's things that you do, and then there's holidays, and then people start relationships, or they, you know, I just think it's the best thing ever.
It's the best thing ever. There you go. That was Izzie Jones. I was really pleased that she wanted to do that, and glad we got to have a chat about snowboarding. I bumped into her a little while after at the Burton movie premiere up in London, and she's just such a enthusiastic snowboarder, and it's the best thing ever. There you go. Certainly amongst sort of my peers, everyone can get a bit jaded. Everyone's been doing it a long time, you know, sort of talking, oh, take it or leave it, or have a day off or whatever. But Izzie is frothing for snowboarding, and it's quite infectious. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that one. If you haven't seen the copy of the Reason magazine with her article in it, it's a really good article, really good shots. The Reason magazine generally is well worth getting hold of a copy. Only one copy comes out per year, and it is worth your time. An effort to track down a copy, hit up the TSA, go to an event that the Snowboard Asylum are putting on. You'll find a copy there, I'm sure. You can support it with a little bit of merch as well. They do like neck warmers and stuff, and it's all good. It's all good. So shout out the crew at the Reason magazine for always looking forward and trying to find the interesting stories as well as us, because if I wouldn't have found Izzie had you not found her first. So yeah, all the links to Izzie's stuff will be in the show notes, the Snow Cone socials and all that sort of thing. If you like the sound of that, then I would heartily recommend that you get along. If you're close to one of them, then get involved. You'll meet a crew of like-minded snowboarders to go and hang out and shred with, and who doesn't want that? Speaking of solid crews and shout-outs, want to send a shout-out to the Dragon Lodge for having me in Teen last week. John and Will, and then also there was Scof and Hannah and Skier Jim and Neil McNair, also known as Wags, Kinky Rich, Gary and Stephen, Stu, Corinne and Jude. We had the Borg crew come up for a couple of days as well. That was Richie Dunning, Cool Bus Rob, legend as always, Bex and Colin, who I've known for years, Lauren and Sven, and then obviously over at Chris Moran's house for a few days in the Three Valleys, and there was Jono, who runs Cab 9 Snowboarding, who's got an episode incoming. Andy Brown and Claire, sorry I forgot your name when I did the Instagram post, but thank you for listening and thanks for saying hi. Jez and the other guy, the skiers who were kind of doing laps with us as well on the Saturday. Thank you so much, everyone, for making me feel very welcome. I'm sorry if I've forgotten you. I've said hi to you or we've chatted and I forgot to mention your name. It was a busy week. Did 4 interviews. Got a couple more kind of lined up to do over Zoom because we didn't have time to do them. But yeah, 4 interviews, 4 really good conversations with people covering all different aspects of the UK snowboarding spectrum, including skier Jim Adlington, who, if you know, he's a proper legend, and he is like the fulcrum between skiing and snowboarding, and Val d'Isère legend. And I was really pleased to get to hang out with him. So yeah, a busy week out in the Alps. I've come back last night, and today I'm feeling pretty knackered. I think it's kind of catching up with me, but I would like to report that going to the gym definitely paid dividends. Those hours in the gym when I was on the mountain and feeling stronger and fitter than I have done for quite some time was well worth it. So I'm going to try and up my regime a little bit. Certainly with the Christmas period coming up, I'm going to try and fight off the urge to eat loads of food and drink loads of booze. Yeah, if you want to get fit it's worth doing some exercise before you go snowboarding to get the most out of your snowboarding. I can 100% attest to that. So make it happen. Make it happen. Your snowboarding holidays will be a lot better. Speaking of making your snowboarding holidays a lot better, if you need kit or you need some advice, then obviously go and see our friends at the Snowboard Asylum. They have got all the knowledge that there is to have. Oh, that's a good point. Joy and, oh man, his name, Stu, I think it is. It's Stuart. Oh, I don't know. Bowman. That's it. Yeah, they were out there as well. I had a funny conversation with Joy about step-on, step-in bindings. I'll save that for another day, though. Yeah, the Snowboard Asylum, they've got more knowledge than you could ever hope to have, and they've got all the right kit for you. So please don't hesitate if you are in the market for some new kit. And if you are booked onto our camp or you're thinking about booking onto our camp, you get a 15% discount at the Snowboard Asylum when you book. So another reason to book on the trip. The trip is filling up with, obviously with all the early season snow, we've had a flurry of interests. So we're 50% full, which is really cool. It's just going to be the best week in the Alps. I mean, it's simple as that. I know Jenny's running her camps and there's all sorts of things going on in the Alps, but this is going to be fun. We are going to make it fun. I had an idea last night. I think we were out riding the other day in we went up from Meribel over to Val Thorens, and we easily covered 50 kilometres. Like, we could have done way, way more. So we're thinking, I had this idea on the plane on the way back to try and do a 100k day on a snowboard. And I don't know how it'll work, but I'm going to try and sort of feather that into the camp. Whoever can do a day where they rock up 100k's on their snowboard will win something. I don't know what, but I think that's a pretty solid idea. I'm up for trying, that's for sure. I think it'll be a leg burner, but I think it can be done. If you have done it, let me know. I'd like to see screenshots. Okay, what else is going on? I want to send a shout out to Burton. They really did hook me up this time for this trip. I looked like I'd been dipped in Burton, but I was using a Grillmaster 160 with a pair of Cartel EST bindings. That all worked brilliantly well. I had to set the stance right back for Saturday because of the powder, and it just worked. And then I left it like that for the rest of the time, and it just worked on everything. So it was a good board. And I was also wearing some of their AK outerwear, which on the Sunday, it pissed it down with rain. Hate to pop the bubble of all the social media, but it did rain on Sunday. And yeah, I stayed perfectly dry. So I can attest that the Burton AK gear is working pretty well. They also sent me a pair of Anon goggles that had a choice of lenses, and they work brilliantly well. No fogging up, even in the rain. So yeah, really pleased. Thank you, Dan and Lizzie, for hooking me up. It is massively appreciated. You know it is. And we're going to be having a Burton test centre on the camp, which is going to be really, really exciting. Speaking of exciting, we have merch. There's a big box of merch sat right next to me, finally. If you go to our Instagram page, you can see what the merch looks like. We've got T-shirts and hoodies from medium to XL. Pretty limited run because I don't want a box full of T-shirts and hoodies sat in my studio for the next 5 years. The T-shirts are 25 quid. The hoodies are 45 quid plus 3 quid for postage. Obviously, if you buy a T-shirt and a hoodie, I'll only charge you for one amount of postage. They come in a plastic bag all folded. The prints are really good. The T-shirts and the hoodies are really good quality, as is the prints. It's got the Thank You Snowboarding logo on the front and a little print of the guy doing a hand plant on the back. So yeah, all you got to do is send me an email to thankyouSnowboarding@gmail.com, which will be in the show notes below. If you do it soon, you'll get it in time for Christmas. What a great Christmas present idea. Or just buy it for yourself, because let's be honest, your partner's probably not listening to this podcast. Do many partners go snowboarding? Is there many snowboarding couples? I don't know. Let me know. Yeah, if you want to get in touch, then you can either get me on the DMs, Thank You Snowboarding Podcast on Instagram, or you can hit up via the email, which will be in the link below. The tune for Izzy's episode is Jess Kimura's part from Defenders of Awesome, the Capita movie. And it is by, the name, I think this is the Weasels. It's called Repetition. And I'm on GoBuzz. I'm going to put the playlist up on there. I urge you to ditch Spotify because they're using artist money to fund AI weaponry development, and they don't pay artists very well. They're kind of the worst. So if, like me, you have anything to do with music, I work in music as my day job, and Spotify are basically the enemy right now. And we shouldn't be using music makers' money to go towards developing weaponry. That is my rant. So the playlist will be on GoBuzz. I will try and do that this week. I am going down with my brother to Evesham tomorrow to go and build a board. And the board that I build is going to be given away on the camp. One of one. It's called the Spirit Award. And it's going to be given away to the person that embodies the spirit of snowboarding on the camp. So we're going to be filming some stuff, so keep an eye on the socials for what we do, how you build a board, how you go about building a board, and then obviously we'll be speaking to Louis from Do UK, is that what they're called? Do UK, to find out why somebody in the west of the UK builds snowboards. It seems utterly bonkers, but I'm really excited to find that out. So his episode will be out soon. We've actually got quite a few from Teen to come out first, so that'll be coming in the future. So yeah, that's the rest of this week. And then kind of we're getting into Christmas things. I've got a bit of work to wrap up before we finish for Christmas. And I'll be posting over Christmas. Obviously, there'll be, I don't know whose episode will get the nearest to Christmas. Last year it was Simon Smith. If you haven't listened to that, I would go back and listen to Simon Smith, absolute legend of a British snowboarder. Hopefully we'll have someone of as legendary status for this Christmas. I think I'm rambling now. I think that's everything for now. Thank you to 420, to Burton, to obviously the Snowboard Asylum, and anyone else that listens. Thank you for everyone that listens. Bumping into Andy Brown and his wife Claire in Bozell while I was outside the bakery, and he sort of gave me a knowing look, and I was like, hello. And he was like, oh, you waiting for Chris Moran? I was like, no. And he's like, oh, okay. Oh, I listened to the podcast. And it's so funny that there are people out in the world that know me through this thing. It's quite an unusual sort of sensation, really, but I kind of like it. And I'm glad it's reaching all around the world and connecting with people, because that was the point. And hopefully every one of these episodes leaves you with that little buzz to think, yeah, I need to go snowboarding, because that is the point. The point was to make me want to go snowboarding and to make you want to go snowboarding. So that's where we're at. All right. Thank you, snowboarding. As ever, see you next week, 10 a.m. Thursday morning. Until then, peace.